back with another Destiny 2 video, and we have an actual major update this week. We did not know exactly when this exotic quest would go live, and apparently it went live on the 4th of July, which most people have off, so if you were not at a barbecue, you could start the exotic quest at reset. So I want to talk about the quests, I want to talk about the gun, which are two very different moods. Okay, to start with the quest, I think we can all agree that the exotic fishing step was very bad. They took the feedback and increased the exotic catch rate by, I guess, double this week. That does not help you if you were trying to catch the exotic fish in past weeks. I think I was pretty lucky. It took me 45 minutes for the first one, which wasn't great. I think it only took me like 20 minutes for the second one, and then it took me 10 minutes for this one. I know some people that went 90 minutes without catching an exotic fish. Terrible step. I don't know what they were thinking with that. It's just nonsense RNG busy work. I've made my feelings pretty clear about fishing at this point. It was a fun little game. Don't tie it to be a key part of starting an exotic quest. The second part of the exotic quest, also not amazing. You have to run half, essentially, of a deep dive. So you have to do the first two encounters. Along the way, you have to dunk your broken blades at 3 different statues. 2 of them are underwater. One time I forgot where the one is and I dropped too low and I had to restart. And once you do that, you beat the second encounter, you go right through a door, and then the actual exotic quest starts. It's a very good quest. I really liked it. Well, it's like half a quest. It's like a segment. So you start and you just kill a couple Taken, you go through some water sections, and then you learn the central mechanic through a mini fight with a mini-boss, well, mini-boss-ish. Kill the 3 Minotaurs. Once you kill 3 Minotaurs, you stack a triple sharp blade bonus. I don't remember exactly what it's called. But then you can do a little damage to the boss, then you go into the next room, fight some Taken, flip some switches, and your timer has started at that point. It is a 10-minute timer, and you essentially just have to kill 2 bosses during that timer. The first boss is just the boss you just fought. It's whatever, you can use anything on that boss, you just make sure you don't get sniped by the dudes in the corners, you open the little Minotaur gates on the side with darkness switches, and you can almost assuredly one-face this boss with any coordination. You still want to be efficient and not die or screw up because you want the overall timer for the next phase. The next phase is a giant tormentor in a labyrinth, which at baseline is a kind of terrifying prospect. I really liked this segment in terms of its kind of challenge and unique setup. You have to wander around the maze and kill the Minotaurs, then regroup in the middle for DPS. This guy has a ton of health. You're not going to solo it, you're probably not going to duo it, and you're probably not going to beat it with LFG randoms, not communicating on a mic. You really sort of have to be coordinated with, in terms of killing the Minotaurs and shouting out where Minotaurs might be. And then also your DPS phase, you really do want to be coordinated with that. You want you can do a couple different things, but Divinity seems almost essential in a lot of ways because it's a Tormentor and it's hopping all around and it only has 1 crit point, and if you don't hit the crit point, you are essentially doing 0 damage to it. So we did Divinity and Linear Fusions. Other people say Thunderlord, the Lightning Bolts stagger it. I've heard Tractor Cannon. I don't know, but there's a bunch of different ways. It's very hard. Like, it is difficult. With my group, it only took 2 tries. We failed the first one because we didn't really quite know exactly what we should be doing. Also, I totally ran out of ammo with everything and could not find a single ammo brick to save my life, not even a green brick for my fusion. But we beat it the second time. You get the gun. Very good quest. I really like the 10-minute section of this. It is certainly not on par with something like 0 Hour or Whisper because those were much lengthier quests, much more involved. This is essentially like 2 or 3 rooms, but I did really enjoy going back to a timer. I get that timers are controversial. I used to be pretty anti-timer, but that was when like everything was showing up as a timer and we had like no breaks. And then eventually they started doing exotic quests that weren't on a timer, and those can be fun too. But I don't think there's anything wrong with going back to a timer occasionally. I just don't love the idea that if you fail, you have to redo half of a deep dive, which is just sort of annoying and something we've run a million times already. Then you get the gun. What's it called? Wicked Intention? I wrote about it today. Wicked Implement. Wicked Implement. It is a stasis scout rifle that you have been seeing me use here for this video in a basic heroic Nightfall. I hate it. I hate this gun. It is so bad. At least in PvE. I know the slow might be okay in PvP or whatever, but okay, so rapid precision hits slow an enemy, even more rapid precision hits freeze an enemy, and then if you kill an enemy while you have this like frozen slow buff active, it will give you a stasis shard that comes to you, which refills your ammo. This is not good. This is not a good weapon, and certainly not a good alternative over a bazillion other exotic primaries or the few other exotic stasis weapons we have. It seems like the main draw of it would be as an anti-champion weapon, because it has two ways of stunning champions. It has overload from the slow, and then it has anti-unstoppable from the freeze. If it was an anti-barrier scout season, it could also do anti-barrier. That should not override, unlike intrinsically, baseline anti-champion weapons. This is not intrinsically anti-champion. It just creates a slow that is anti-champion, and then and freezing for anti-unstoppable. So theoretically, yes, this could stun all three types of champions by itself. Unfortunately, the cost of that is being very bad. The slow from overload, it's not exactly the easiest thing to plink down a teleporting captain or a teleporting minotaur, which is most of the overload champions you will see. So rapid precision hits on those kind of enemies is not great. Right now it is overload scout rifle, so you don't even have to hit precision hits to stun enemies, so that's like cheating a little bit here. But if you could only do anti-overload by slowing and only that on precision hits, I think this would be much harder and much more annoying. It takes a good amount of hits to start slowing enemies, and then like half your magazine at least to freeze an enemy, and then you will not necessarily kill it after you freeze, so you're not getting that stasis shard coming at you that refills your ammo. On red bar enemies, you're just killing them before the slower freeze happens, so that's not giving you any bonuses. It's just being a normal scout rifle. It works against, orange bars, but part of the problem is that you need these precision hits. So anything with a shield is not counting as a precision hit. So you're doing stasis damage to elemental shields, which obviously there's no synergy there because there are no stasis shields in the game. On champions, you can see over the course of this Nightfall that you can slow them and freeze them like this, except this thing does so little damage that you're essentially, you have to switch to something else, and you're not going to be able to stick with the scout rifle in any meaningful capacity to get it down, get your shard, whatever. This is a heroic Nightfall, so imagine, Master GM, like this thing is going to be doing no damage. Like it might stun champions, but there are bunches and bunches of other options that could be stunning champions, including your intrinsic elemental abilities now. So even if this is theoretically a weapon that can, stun all three champions, it sucks. And things like the stasis shard it creates on kill that comes toward you and refills your ammo, if you're running a stasis subclass, those shards are freaking everywhere. And refilling the ammo of a scout rifle with 15 rounds is not exactly a huge draw here. And I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, this is not better than Chill Clip. Chill Clip will instantly slow something. Yeah, granted it's on a special weapon, but it's, it's not hard to use a special weapon or find ammo for a special weapon. So it will instantly slow an enemy, so that's an instant stun. It will freeze them on the second shot, usually. So that's way better. And then I found myself being like, I wish this had headstone, because you're killing these red bars and nothing's happening because you're not freezing them, you're not slowing them, because at least if you were freezing them, they would shatter and hurt enemies around them. Or if you had headstone, it would create a stasis crystal, which you could then shatter. the one benefit is being intrinsically able to freeze, but again, it takes a bazillion shots to do that. There is a catalyst for this, which is a random drop from Deep Dive, but all the catalyst does is overflow your magazine when you collect the stasis crystals, which, again, who cares? Like, I guess you need that because it takes so many freaking shots to slow something or freeze something, but this is a deeply, deeply bad weapon. Like, Bungie has really been on a good streak with exotic weapons, I would say. Conditional Finality is a good weapon. I like Centrifuge from this season. The last few seasons, most of the exotic weapons they produce, I would argue, are pretty fun. The Stasis Bow they just made was very fun. It is infinitely better than this. It can create a wall of stasis crystals, like, pretty easily. And this is like, maybe we'll slow something once every 5 shots, and maybe we'll freeze something once every 9 shots. Like, it's not remotely comparable. Like, this needs some sort of massive boost. Like, it should be intrinsically Chill Clip or intrinsically Headstone in addition to all this other stuff. And even that, I don't think would make it necessarily good. Like, it needs something special. It feels worse than, like, Jade Rabbit or something in PvE, like a dedicated, mostly PvP weapon. Like, again, maybe this is okay for PvP because of the slow, but, like, I just, there's really no use case for this in PvE, even if it can stun all 3 types of champions. There are just so many better options, both in stasis and in exotic primaries and in things that can stun. So this needs just some absolutely massive buffs to be anywhere close to viable as a weapon. It's a really weird miss from Bungie because I really do think they genuinely have been doing a great job with exotic weapons. And this is a really fun quest. I think it's a really cool quest outside of the first few steps here. So it's very weird to, like, be rewarded with a deeply lackluster weapon. Like, you know, you think about the mystery exotic quests in the past, and this is a mystery because it's not like something you get from a vendor or something and you're getting specific steps. Like, we had to rely on, like, people finding how to do it and whatever. But, you know, think back, you got Whisper of the Worm, which at the time was, like, one of the best DPS weapons in the game, if not the best. In Zero Hour, you got Outbreak Perfected, which is absolutely one of the best exotic primaries in the game. You got Dead Man's Tale from Presage. You got Excalibur from the last one. That's not, like, amazing, but it's a good weapon. This is very bad, especially given the source here. So play the mission. It's very fun. It's fun just to play it for its own sake. I would definitely do it with a team, with mics. If you don't have friends to play with, this might not be the mission for you. Like, I just don't think you're going to have a good time attempting this with randoms. It is possible, certainly, but it is not probably going to be very enjoyable. The gun is bad. The gun needs significant buffs to be at all relevant in the sandbox. Like, stasis alone needs some help at baseline. I hope we're getting some stasis buffs next season. I hope we're getting some stasis artifact mods next season that make it interesting, but very, very poor right now, and this scout rifle kind of exemplifies that. So good quest, bad gun, enjoy, and yeah, that's probably going to be the last major thing that happens this season outside of the holiday event for Solstice, but we will see if there's anything else to talk about as time goes on. But thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.